Welcome to Lotus Me Bloom podcast. This is your host, Madison Ansel, and in this podcast, I talk a lot about spirituality, self-development, things I've learned, and so much more. So if you're into that type of stuff, then you found the right podcast. Hi everyone, welcome back to the podcast. So today's episode is about discernment because I feel like we really need to talk about it, and so many people I feel like lack discernment, especially in the spiritual community. We need to talk about discernment because there's so many people that are feeding things at you saying, hey, take my course, hey, learn from me. And they're not always the best choices. And this goes for all areas of your life, friends, coworkers. Can you trust them? Can you not? Are they people you should be around? And I think that a lot of us just always want to see the good in people. And I talk about this in my people pleasing episode as well. But that does get us fucked over sometimes, because we just always want to see the good. And sometimes it's like, no, we need to have a little bit more power over our decisions and who we let into our life and who we're going to spend money on, because it's not always for the best. And I've had to learn the hard way. That's why I want to make this episode, because I've spent so much money, y'all, on spiritual coaches and just even letting people into my life and trusting the wrong people. I always thought that I had a good judgment of character. I've always been good at reading people. And I think that's why I never really got along with people growing up. I just see people's character. And I think that's really important to do. But there are times in my life where, especially in the beginning of my spiritual journey, I just was like, oh, they have information I don't have, and kind of put them up on a pedestal. And even with people, I think it's easy to do. If you see someone at work that's has skills you want, or just anyone in general, on Instagram, and you look up to people, and then you kind of lose yourself and your power. And I think that's really what this all is about, is coming back to yourself and really reminding yourself that you don't need anything outside of yourself. Limitless Living Fit on TikTok always talks about having discernment, because there's so much information out there, especially in the spiritual community, about you should do this, you shouldn't do this. And I think a lot of people don't have the best intentions. And I think this goes for different areas in your life as well. So take what I'm saying and apply it to your life. But you can't just take one person's information and just think, oh, this is the one all be all. And, that's it. Because there's so many nuances to everything in life. So to just take one person's information and just think it's your truth and to fully go by that, sure, you can do it, but not everyone's information is accurate or even safe sometimes to take. So you need to have discernment. I do see through people. I do see people's intentions, but it has grown so much over the years as I've worked on myself. And I think that's where we need to get back to, is to remind ourselves that we have the answers within, and no one can tell us what to do and how to live our life. And if something doesn't feel right, it's probably not right. So I think it's very important to do your own research and to take information that you learn and apply it to how you feel about it, and, morph it into your own situation. You know what I'm saying? Don't ever just take someone's information and be like, okay, this is it. This is how life works, and that's it. Even with me, I, have a whole podcast talking about things I've learned and what's true for me, but that doesn't mean it's true for you, and that doesn't mean it's going to work for you. Maybe you might get inspiration or downloads listening to my stuff, and I might inspire you to find something out for yourself. But that's what the whole point of my podcast is. It's never to tell someone this is right, this is the only way. No, this is just my truth. This is what I've learned. Maybe it'll work for you. Maybe it won't. Maybe it'll inspire you to dive deeper into yourself and find those answers for yourself. But that's what I'm saying, guys. The best teachers and mentors will never tell you that this is the only way, because there's not just one answer. There really isn't. There are so many different nuances to everything. Like, it's not going to always, like, for example, diets. Not everyone can do keto. Not everyone can do, vegan or, carnivore. That doesn't work for everyone. And everyone will tell you, and different, nutritional coaches will say, oh, this is the right way. No, this is how you should be eating. But really, it's intuitive. That's how I have discovered for myself, is to eat intuitively and to eat what is right. And that's what all of this is really circling back to, y'all, is that discernment equals building your intuition and knowing yourself and knowing what feels right and what doesn't for you. There are just a lot of people spreading misinformation out there in general, but especially in the spiritual community, about things that just are harmful. And just the thing that I have found the most with spiritual development and spirituality is that they always make it seem like you're not enough. They always make it seem like you have to keep doing the work and you have to take this course. And then after this course, you have to take the next course. And, to get to this level that's never reachable, really, because there's always another course to take. And I get it. That's how they make their money. But if you're new into this shit and you're new into anything that you're doing in life, you want to make sure you're doing it right and learning everything you need to know and, be the best version of yourself that you can be in whatever aspect of life, like if you're doing it for work or whatever. But it's just like, at what point is it enough? And I had to learn that the hard way too, is that like I was spending so much money on coaches and spiritual mentors, and it was just never enough. It was like, oh, I know I came out with this course, but actually, like, you need to do this course to make sure that like you really are powerful and whatever and healed. And it's just a bunch of bullshit. Like, the thing is, everything is inside yourself. Your answers are inside yourself. And how to even build discernment is to get to know yourself. And I've talked about this in so many episodes, guys. I have episodes talking about how to trust yourself and how to know yourself and self-love and all the things I'm talking about. Building your intuition. I have a whole episode on that too. It's about getting to know yourself. And when you know yourself, it's easier to navigate, like, when people don't know themselves and when people are doing things for their ego or for money purposes. And yes, I get the tactics of like, oh, if you really want to heal or if you really want to make $10,000 a year, then you need to take this course. And then after that one, oh, if you want to make $100,000 a year, take this one. And it's like, it's never enough. And I get it. I get that's the tactic, but you guys just have to have discernment on who you're doing it with, or, how much money you're even spending. Like, I guess it's okay. Like, if you spend $10, not gonna break you. But y'all, some of these people are selling their courses for thousands of dollars. Thousands. Trust me. Trust me. I've spent it. Early on in my journey, I bought a course off of someone that was actually local, and I thought that this was going to help me because I was like, oh, like, she's kind of in the area, like, I saw her in person. She did like a class at a crystal store that I always used to go to. I took her class. She had like one-on-one coaching or something. I got on a call with her, and they always say like, yeah, you need this. Don't ask you about like, can you afford it or anything like that. It was $400. So it was $100 a week basically. And I had no money, y'all, at the time. No money. This was years ago. I was working at a freaking Herbalife shake shop. I had no fucking money. And I gave this girl $400 to tell me absolutely nothing. Like, we got on a call every week, and truly the other girl, there's only two of us, by the way. The other girl, I think, was just using it as therapy sessions because it wasn't like deep therapy, but it was just like, I think she was just paying for someone to talk to, like, in general, like a friend. And nothing that was told to us, like, yes, there was journal prompts and stuff, was nothing that I like couldn't have found on the internet. And because at the time I was already watching like every spiritual YouTuber on the platform. And so I already was watching like all this free stuff about intuition and, you know, all that bullshit. And that too, like there's so many people I don't even watch any spiritual people anymore. And I think as you grow and as you know yourself and you get to the point that like you don't need other people's validation and you don't need other people's information, you will stop listening to those people as much. I literally like don't ever listen to half of them anymore. There's like one girl that I sometimes will listen to. I listen to astrology stuff. Anyways, I did not learn anything from this woman other than the one thing she told me about being present was that she would name off the things in front of her. So she'd say, oh, this door is white. It has 2 squares at the top and 4 rectangles, things like that, especially when she's feeling anxious. And that was like the only thing that I really took away from that and that I remember for $400, y'all. So that's why I'm sharing this shit, because just because someone's like, oh, I can help you do this, I encourage you to pause, take some time to think about it. And I also think it is important to know your human design, because then you can know your authority and how to make decisions. For me, like I'm an emotional authority, so I, you know, have to feel the emotions, and also like I have the wave. So I, you know, might feel like, oh, I should do something, and then I have this like lull where I'm like, oh, I don't know. And then I'm like, okay, I made a decision. And like, until that wave is kind of mellowed out, that's when I know, okay, should I take this or should I not? So I think it's important to know your human design and to learn that. And I do have a whole episode on that as well. I think just getting to know yourself and to truly work on yourself is how you gain better discernment. The more you know yourself, the more you work on yourself, the more you work on like your triggers and like just healing in general, is when you get to a better place within yourself to like have those decisions come easier and to kind of steer away from bad decisions. You know, I don't like to say bad decisions because I do think every decision we make does make us learn from it. Like all the shit that I had to learn the hard way, I did learn from it. And that's why I have this podcast to help you guys. But I think just really getting to know yourself and to build a better relationship with yourself. The more work you do on yourself, the more you heal from your trauma and just know what feels good in your body and what doesn't, is a huge way to build discernment. And I just know so many people personally that will post like these spiritual leaders content, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like there's a whole documentary on this person that's like not good. And it makes me sad, because I'm like, you know, not everyone that's in the spiritual community and not everyone that has spiritual gifts has discernment, y'all. Okay. There are so many people in the spiritual community that do this for ego purposes. They do it to make money. They do it for clout. They don't even know what the fuck they're talking about half the time. And I'm not saying they're all like this, because I do have some teachers that I love and like I've learned so much from. And the one that I have, like, is probably one of my favorites, has encouraged us as well to, you know, do our own research and to like not just take everything she says verbatim, you know. And I think that's so important, and to just honestly know your morals too. Like if you are following someone that is so, I don't know, I want to say egotistical, because I think it's so like apparent and easy for me to just see someone now and just be like, oh my God, like they're so full of themselves, or like they're truly doing this because they just want the attention. And you know, they don't really care about the people they're helping. I don't know. It's so like easy for me to spot. I am a projector too, so I think that maybe plays into it, but I also have like worked on my own ego stuff and my own shit. So like the more I've become aware too, and I think awareness is key, I always say that, is easier to navigate, like, just languages and stuff. Like, my boyfriend always makes fun of me because we watch a lot of those dating shows. Well, I do, and I make him watch, but he likes it. He just won't admit it. Like The Ultimatum and stuff like that. And every time we watch it, like, very beginning, like, we're doing introductions. Like, he was just saying something to me the other day. He's like, you're just like watching this stuff so you can analyze people. Cause I'll be like, oh, she has avoidant attachment. Oh, they have, miscommunication issues. Like, oh, she's got some trauma. Like, I just can, like, spot people's, like, I guess, issues. Like, I can spot kind of like what's wrong. And that's a very projector thing of me too. Like, we can just penetrate like the aura and just see kind of like what's holding you back and like what you could shift to like make huge differences in your life. That's why like the projectors are known for being like the teachers and the guides. That doesn't mean other ones can't be, by the way. For example, someone I've learned from so much is a generator. So just put that out there. But I can pick up on that stuff pretty easy now, but it's because I have, worked on myself. And I know, these things because I have learned them for myself, and I've worked on my own attachment styles, and I know all the self-development type of stuff. I know what, holds me back, and like I can see it in other people, but it's from learning it for myself. And I think that's, once again, like the biggest takeaway from this and having discernment is to know yourself and to learn things for yourself and work on yourself. Because when you have such a solid relationship with yourself, it has this power that can't be fucked with. Like, people can't fuck with you because you don't need them. You don't need their information. You start taking people off of a pedestal and bringing them down to your level because you don't fucking need their information. Like, I think it's so annoying when people are, especially teachers and coaches, are like, I, have the information that has never been shared before. Bullshit. Like, you learned it too from somewhere. And let's just break this down for, people that aren't spiritual. Let's break it down to, coworkers or friends. I think having a very strong sense of like what your morals are and standing strong with that and having strong boundaries of who you are and what you won't do because of your morals or your standards for yourself. And if people aren't meeting those standards and like that you would want for yourself, I think it's safe to say that those people aren't meant to be in your life, regardless of, if you're paying them for something or a friend. I mean, coworkers, we can't really help that sometimes, but you can have those boundaries of like, I don't want to get close to this person. I don't want this person to know much about me, whatever the case is, So when it comes to everyday people or even maybe people on Instagram, I think a huge like standard to go by is, how do you feel about something? How are the standards you have for yourself? What are your moral standards? And if people don't necessarily meet that in any type of way, then maybe it's best to just stay away from them. Like, if someone you see at work is treating someone really shitty or like bullying them or maybe spreading gossip, if that's not something you respect or you would do like in that situation, and something like you have higher standards for, then yeah, I think it's like kind of common knowledge to be like, okay, well, you shouldn't let that person into your life. If they're a shitty person in general, like, I think we need to stop and like think about, I don't know. I know it's like just a casual, we're going to go get a drink after work, or we're just going to go hang out for a little bit. But energy is so real, and the people we surround ourselves with matters a lot. So I think us just staying clear of those people in general will save us some lessons. Trust me. Like, I have done that so many times in my life, people pleasing stuff where I don't want to tell someone no. I let them in, don't have any boundaries. We go hang out. It's, nothing really strong connection wise, in my mind. Like, I'm just like, oh, we're just casually chatting and hanging out, but you're making a connection regardless of if you think it's a strong one or it's just like a casual, we're just hanging out and having fun. You're still like interacting with their energy. You're still kind of getting intertwined with them. And sometimes in their head, they think like, oh my God, we're best friends. Like, that's my new girl. That's my new girl. We're going to hang out all the time. And so that gets messy too, just in that situation. But also just like energy doesn't lie. And I think if you are surrounding yourself with shitty people and people that just kind of suck and don't meet your standards of morals, I don't think it's a good idea to even entertain the idea to hang out with them. And I know that might sound a little harsh, but I have learned the hard way, guys, and I'm telling you for a reason. It's just not worth it. It's really not. Like, you really need to just be careful of who you let into your life and who you surround yourself with, because it will mirror how you feel about yourself and it will mirror other aspects of your life. I just talked about it in the other podcast that I had about how sometimes our relationships with people will prevent us from opportunities that we're trying to manifest. I think it's so big and so much bigger than us, and it's hard to explain, but it happens. Laws of the universe, there's just, it's not good. It's not good. And I think it's just important of like what we, listen to, pay attention to, watch videos on. It's programming our subconscious mind. Everything in the world right now is meant to just like program us in a way, whether it's ads or brands or whatever. And, I'm not saying like, oh, don't watch reality TV or anything like that. Like, I love that shit. I eat that shit up. I love rock music. I love all that stuff. I'm not saying to like never watch those things or listen to those things, but I think it is important to just like have awareness. Awareness is key with all of it, just to have awareness of who you are surrounding yourself with and just how people act, I think is a huge indicator on if it's something you should surround yourself with or invest money into. If you're watching them even on like YouTube or something, I think to like look at someone and like look in their eyes and just their mannerisms and like the things they say, just to have awareness of that, because body language does show, and like even people's tone of voice, like you can just tell like if someone is a shitty person. And I know like if you have a hard time with this, you might not be able to tell, and you need to just build that discernment. But I'm telling you, the more you work on yourself and the more you know yourself and the more you like realize you don't need anyone but yourself. I mean, obviously we need people in our lives, that's not what I'm trying to say, but like stop trying to think that all the information is outside of yourself and everyone has this information that you don't have. Because I think that was a huge thing for me, especially learning and trying to heal myself, was everyone knew more than what I knew. And it's truly just a journey back to yourself through all of this. Yes, people can help you get there. And I've done things that I paid a lot of money for. I wouldn't do it again, but I learned, and, I came out ahead, and it was kind of like a hard lesson to learn. But I think that it is essential for us to just try to take that time before we make a decision and to just be really careful about, like I said, who we let into our lives and who we are investing money into, and to just really know ourselves. And I think, like I said, everything is a lesson, even if nothing's really a bad decision, but there are some things that I wish I could have avoided. But it truly was just me finding myself and finding like, I don't need this person's information. This information does not resonate with me. It doesn't feel good in my body. I'm not going to listen to it anymore, because I have a little bit of, I don't even know how to explain it, but I feel like if someone teaches me something like you need to do this, this, and this, I try to put myself in that box, and I can't ever be put in the box of like, you need to do this. It's just not who I am. I'm just not meant to like conform. And I think also being a projector, we just are meant to like go over here and go over there and, you know, do our own thing. And so when people teach a very structured thing, it really messes with me because I think in my head, like I do suffer like perfectionism. I have to do it this way. And so the last couple of years, I've really been learning to just break out of that and find what works for me, and to stop thinking that everyone's information is right, because I have found that it's not. It's really not. I think a lot of people, I don't know why. I don't even want to get into like why they do the things they do, but it's just up to us to have discernment and to like kind of save ourselves from getting burned. So, you know, I do have some Virgo placements, so I am pretty good at kind of judging and being like critical in that sense. But I know there are some people that just don't. I have family members like that. They just don't see like the bad in people at all. And so I think that's also good to, you know, see good in people, but at the same time, you know, have discernment on who you're giving your energy to and all that stuff. So I think I made my point clear. Really just work on yourself and learn from yourself, and just journey back to yourself and like what feels good to you. And if someone's information doesn't feel good, don't listen to it. Just really get into your body. And I think meditation would help too with learning that discernment for yourself, because I think some people are just so open to trusting everyone. And I also do have some Scorpio placements, and that is my Chiron. So I have always kind of had this like lesson of, you know, trusting and letting people in. So that is something I've had to work on, is trusting. But at the same time, I think it is okay to, you know, not trust everyone, and to sit with that, and to, you know, give people time to show you if they can be trusted. You know, just really get to know yourself and feel it in your body. And I think meditation will really help with that, because if it feels good in your body, then you will know. And if it doesn't, you'll know too. And just not to take everyone's, you know, information as the truth, and to just have discernment. I'm not saying don't ever invest in a coach or whatever, but just really take your time with getting to know them, getting to know their mannerisms. Do their standards line up with yours, your moral standards? Do they seem like a good person? How do they treat other people? Read reviews if you're going to, you know, obviously invest in a huge course. You know, do all those things. But if it comes to like everyday people, you know, maybe just give some time to get to know them, and, you know, how they feel about stuff, and just how they treat other people. Watch how they treat others. I think that's a huge thing. And really, when you build that great relationship with yourself, you won't have to even question so much, because like I said, you'll be taking everyone off a pedestal and just realizing like you hold all the truth, you are powerful, and you don't need to keep feeling like I have to take this course because I'm not healed yet, or I'm not good enough. And to just, you know, pour it all back into yourself, know that you are good enough, know that you do have the truth, and like you'll find it eventually, like through learning lessons and like different things in our lives. Like you don't have to invest $3,000 into a course to figure that out. But if you're like me, then maybe you do. I hope that some of this information that I said did land. Just please have discernment, y'all. Please learn discernment, especially in the spiritual community. There's so much shit out there. Do what feels right for you. And, you know, just build that relationship with yourself, and you really won't even have an issue anymore. Truly. Like, there are so many people in my life that they probably think like, I don't know why, like, you just don't like these people. It's just because they can't see like how they treat other people. And I'm just very strong about, you know, not being around people that are crappy. And like I said, I know a lot of people that just don't see that, and I see it, and it is very isolating sometimes, and it makes you feel alone when, you feel that way about someone or something, and it makes you think like, oh, maybe I'm just like complaining or bitter or whatever, and maybe I'm the problem. Trust me, I've been there. But truly, if you know in your body and your soul, and you are so connected with yourself and your intuition, because this is all about intuition as well, guys, like learning your intuition and learning about yourself will get you to where you need to go, and will let you guys know like red flags with people. And you just have to trust yourself. I know there's so many people that aren't tapped into themselves and aren't tapped into their intuition for them to know better and to have discernment. And I usually am that person that is kind of the only one that sees it half the time, but I am very tapped into myself and tapped into, the higher realms, and I do have a very strong intuition. And so I think with all of this too, to sum this up, is that you need to really build your intuition, and you will, as you work on yourself and as you heal, you'll start to really feel into your body, and that's intuition in itself, feeling like something's off, like that's your intuition telling you so. So I have a whole episode on building your intuition, so check that one out. But with that being said, if you guys want to follow me on any of my social medias, they'll be linked in the comments below. I have cauldron candles coming out and fall candles coming out, so if you guys want to shop, lotusmebloom.com. But with that being said, I will see you guys in the next episode. Bye, guys.